Hey guys, Zach Hawes here with AlumiTank, where precision meets perfection when we make your tank. Part of that process requires you to capture all the correct measurements that we need to properly build your tank. So I'm going to show you how we do that to make sure that you know exactly what you need to know. First, a couple of the main dimensions we need to capture are going to be the diameter of the tank. Find the center of the end of your tank and measure across the center of the barrel and capture that dimension and mark that down on the reference point with the provided worksheet. From there, we'll go and reference the rest of our measurements from welded seam to welded seam. So that's where we'll start. We'll take our measuring tape at one end of the seam to the other end of the tank and capture that dimension. From there, we'll take that dimension down in inches, of course, and write that at the top of our worksheet, displayed across the top of your tank print. From there, we'll move on to capturing the fitting locations. Again, those measurements are referenced from the weld seam. In this instance, where we have a configuration of fittings, you're going to measure to the center of this assembly, again, from that weld seam. The end of your measuring tape goes there, come to the center point of that fitting, and make sure you mark that down accurately in the displayed point on your worksheet here. Next step would be to capture your fill neck location. That weld seam, again, being super important. Make sure you're referencing the initial point to the center of that fill neck and go down, capture that measurement there, again in inches. Refer to your worksheet, make sure you mark that down accurately. There are a few fittings on the bottom. It may be a little hard for you to capture those measurements if your tank is still on your truck, but we have the luxury of being able to turn this around for you here today. So, similar to the fittings on top, we'll start with the measurement from the weld seam, capturing those to the center of each fitting, and marking that in the according location on your worksheet. Once all the length measurements have been captured, the last point we need to capture for measurements are the radial measurements around the clocking of the tank. And again, our reference point is going to be a weld seam. The majority of the tanks that you'll see on the road today have the weld seam located on the back side of the tank, which is going to be facing towards your frame rail. Some of them can be at the midway point. Others have been known to be lower on the tank. That's going to be our point, again, to capture that clocking reference measurement, and we'll start with showing you how we do that. Again, with your measuring tape, hold the one end at your weld seam on the back side of your tank. Hold it as tightly as you can to the tank to make sure it conforms to that curvature, and then measure to that center point of your fitting again. On your worksheet, you'll see clocking locations, which you can write in those increments in inches for that fitting location. So at this point, if you follow these basic steps, you're going to be on the right track to ordering a correct tank. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. We'll be more than willing to walk you through this process over the phone to make sure that the precision that we promise you is going to be exactly what you get.